Times were tough, so I sold my soul. And I don't think I'll ever regain control. Devil looked me in the eye, now I look the other way. What else could I do? I just stood at the doorway, knew I'd rather be drunk with you.
Hey Internet, Dracofunk here, and this is my reusable space program. I'm playing Kerbal Space Program, and this is episode 25. And I know it says Minmus satellite deployment, and I'll get there eventually. But first, last week with Shaggy Beeb, the mining ship, it had a little bit of another accident. And I said I was going to fix it, and to fix that, I need to send it back to Kerbal. So I undocked it there and just letting the space station kind of float away. And now that it's a little bit far enough away, I'm going to use the space utility vehicle to dock to it so I can fly it back to Kerbal. And the idea is that once I get it there, I will launch the little probe that I use to land the space utility vehicle. This space utility... Why can't I talk sometimes? The little probe that I used, this space utility vehicle, which I think I've decided I'm naming the Bronco. The one around the space utility vehicle 1, I believe I'm calling Jimmy, and this one is Bronco. So anyway, I'm just visually lining up the docking ports. And hopefully I can get these all synced up. I need to rotate it. Rotate just a little bit. Come on. Almost there. Now rotate. Rotate. Yeah, there we go. Like that. It's pretty close. Come on. Whoop, there we go. That's close enough. So now I'll doing that thing where I can't talk again. Now all I got to do is send this back to Kerbal. Hey, I'd like to thank all of our new subscribers. So was it last week? Maybe it was last week. Anyway, I set forth a 60 subscriber challenge. And I said that if we reach 60 subscribers by the end of 2022, I will drive a rover from the Kerbal Space Center to the North Pole. And since then, as of the recording date, so this comes out on this actually is a Halloween episode. This will come out October 31st. As of October 30th, we are at 59 subscribers. So one more, and I got to do this. So here is the little launch probe that has the parachutes on it, and I'm going to the Bronco is right now towing the mining ship back to Kerbal orbit, and this needs a launch so we can meet them. Now, I think I've said this. Oh, I got to check and make sure I disable the crossfeed. I don't want to use the fuel that's in the probe. It won't have any fuel left to dock. I've been having trouble with, I use OBS to screen record, and I updated it, and that caused it to not work. And the only way I was able to fix it was to uninstall it and reinstall the old version again. But since doing that, it doesn't work quite right. I need to eject the side boosters. And reusable! They may have exploded a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to get this into orbit, practicing doing a 2-orbit rendezvous, and there really wasn't any reason for me to do that. I got it close to the space station, and then I'm like, why am I getting it close to the space station? This doesn't need to go to the space station. So I ended up just not worrying about it, and I will send the little space probe off to rendezvous with the mining ship. I'll land the booster. I might even do that off screen. You've seen me land boosters before. And anyway, here's the Bronco. It is in orbit of Kerbal. I'm circularizing at periapsis. I'm going to probably do this in 2 orbits. Next orbit, I'm going to bring the orbit down to about... I want to get it in a 200-kilometer orbit. That just will make docking with the mining ship a little bit easier. And since the Bronco is already here in orbit of Kerbal, I'll be able to actually use it to do what this episode title says I'm going to do in this episode. If you didn't read the title, which I don't know why you wouldn't if you clicked on this video, the title is Minmus Satellite Deployment. So the first thing I did for my reusable space program was deploy 3 satellites in orbit of Kerbal so my probes would work, and I meant to do that around the Mun and Minmus, and I simply forgot. Until the last couple episodes, I spent 2 episodes deploying the satellites in orbit of the Mun, which I put 4, basically 3 of them in a 1,000-kilometer orbit, and one of them, I think it was in a 800-kilometer polar orbit, which should give me continuous coverage around the Mun. And I'm going to do the same thing for Minmus. And the Bronco is going to be the ship to deploy them. I used the tanker, the Canterbury, to do it around the Mun, but the Canterbury isn't going to be going to Minmus, so the Bronco can do it. It needed to come to Kerbal to drop off the mining ship anyway, so let's just do it. So I'm putting it now, lowering that to a 100-kilometer orbit, and I'll come back and get that in a second. But first, the little landing probe has rendezvoused with the mining ship. And now I can dock them and then do a little deorbit burn and hopefully land. I'm going to try and land it close to the Space Center. I don't know if I will. I think I can get it pretty close. This is a pretty easy docking. And I'll just time warp. So I found you want to get the part of your orbit that is reaching the planet to be just off the coast of the Space Center. And that should get you relatively close. I don't remember what I shoot for like boosters and like this, but space planes I shoot for about 32 kilometers. That usually gets me close enough that I can land at the runway. I probably stole that from somebody else's Kerbal Space Program video, and I really wish I could remember whose, because if I did, I would totally give them a shout out. But hey, the I watched a lot of Scott Manley's videos, and also Matt Lown. I'm trying to think of who else. Those are probably the two people that I have watched the most. So here we go. Oh no, I'm going to make my Kerbal sick. So there's a space center off in the distance. I guess I could have gotten a little bit closer. I'm sorry, guys. They look a little bit worried. They're flipping all out. There we go. That wasn't so bad, was it? Nobody got sick? You're on your way home. You guys expected to spend like months up in space at Minmus, and now you're getting to come home. You get to spend time with your little Kerbal families and Kerblings. Yeah, yay, they're all happy. Yeah. See? They're almost down to the surface. So, as of the recording, this video will go out Monday, October 31st. The next day, SpaceX is going to attempt to launch a Falcon Heavy. We haven't had a Falcon Heavy launch in, I think it's been a year or two. Yeah, it seems like it's been almost a year or two. And so they're going to attempt to launch that. The side boosters will be recovered, but the center booster is going to be expended. All we know is it's launching 2 military satellites into geosynchronous orbit. And launching satellites into orbit right now, this is the new upgraded satellite launcher. I told Shaggy B last time I'm going to upgrade the fairings so they're a little bit easier to recover, since in the last fairings, like when you deploy them, come out into thousands of, well, maybe not thousands, hundreds of parts. See, those boosters will probably be able to be recovered. That one just wanted to hang on for a little bit longer. I'm going to put this in a, let's see, 100-kilometer orbit. Yeah. Now, this is a shout out to Shaggy B, because I said I was going to change the fairing, so I'm going to give you a moment. Here we go. Play the music. Yeah. So I'll get that circularized, and I will send the Bronco to rendezvous with the satellites. And here it is, just coming in and making the final maneuvers just to get it close enough. I do use MechJeb, the rendezvous planner. I do all the flying. I'm just using it kind of as a navigation computer. And I know there's some people who are like, that's cheating. Well, I could probably do the rendezvous manually, but I'm not very good at it, and I'm sorry. I'm only using the rendezvous planner to help me make the maneuver nodes. I'm doing all the flying. I keep hitting the wrong, as you can see I keep hitting the wrong buttons and getting the in-cockpit view. But that's okay. So I've got it close enough. I'm going to undock the satellite, the whole satellite harness mechanism from that booster. And then I'm going to dock with the booster first, because while I probably have enough fuel to fly to Minmus, I want a little bit more. There, I got the booster undocked, and Just going to flip it over while everything's nice and lined up. Yeah. There we go. Don't hit the... Oh. Whoa. That was almost a disaster. Okay. Everything's good. Nothing broke. And now I got just a little bit of fuel, but that's enough. A little bit of fuel goes a long way with those nuclear engines. And now I just need to go dock with the satellites, and off the Minmus we will go. Now I'm trying to do a visual docking. I'm a little bit too far away, and I'm actually getting further away. That's a bit of a problem. It's really easy to lose perspective here. Whoa! So this footage is actually sped up 4 times. So I probably wasn't coming quite as fast as it seems like I am. Just get everything to point at each other. And I want to make sure that it's rotated in a way that the engine exhaust isn't blowing on some of those satellite dishes. Now, I could have used the deployable satellites on these relay satellites, and that probably would have been best, but these are the most powerful satellites. And one of the reasons I'm using them is I just want to make everything uniform. And these are the satellites I want on when I send a mission to Duna, which next season I'm going to be going to Duna, and I'm going to have to take probably 8 satellites there. I'll do it in 2 separate missions, one to actually orbit Duna and one in orbit of Ike. I will probably set up a mining base in orbit of Ike to to fuel all the craft that are going to be stationed in orbit of Duna. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to design the Duna station because I don't exactly like the layout of Enterprise Station. I don't hate it, but I feel like I could have made a more efficient design. And I think I need to do something different. I don't know what, but I'm going to do something different. So I'm doing my burn to Minmus. You see me, if I could have slowed down, I would have gotten a mount encounter there. And here I have my Minmus encounter. Just giving a slight correction just to get it. There we go. And the earlier you do your burn corrections, the more efficient they are. I probably should have done mine a little bit earlier than that, but it's fine. I do have my Delta V up because I am a little bit concerned because I do have to not only circularize my Minmus orbit, but also I'm going to have to put one of these satellites in a polar orbit. and then dock with Challenger Station in orbit of Minmus. So I want to make sure that I don't really run out of Delta V. Man, this is going to be really close on Delta V. So I used a lot of RCS for that, but that's okay. So right now I'm basically going to end up in a polar orbit of Minmus. So at least I don't have to flip to a polar orbit and then back. This is actually the best case scenario, because if I wouldn't have started in a polar orbit, I would have had to flew into one and then fly back. And I'm going to go ahead and keep this 1,200 kilometer orbit. And I think I'm just going to deploy the satellite there. I think this makes the most sense. Here we go. So this will be, let's rename this. Yeah, I think that's the main naming convention I've been using. So I really don't need to do anything else. Just that satellite is basically in the orbit I need it to be in, and it can stay there, and that's it. So it's only a 54 meter per second maneuver to get it into the plane I need it, which that's not bad. So I just use the rendezvous planner to match planes with the space station, and yeah. So now I'm basically putting the Bronco in a 200 kilometer orbit by about 1200. And the reason is I'll go down to 200 kilometers and then come back up, and now I can deploy the satellite at the top of that and circularize the orbit, and that way I can get them roughly spaced out. I'll adjust them a little bit, but that way they're not right next to each other. And I'm using the built-in Kerbal alarm system just so I know where to go. There, I've almost got it circularized. Turn it and make it sure it's facing the right direction. There we go. Whoops. There. These satellites surprisingly have a lot of delta V. And there we go. We're in about a 1,000, roughly 1,000 kilometer orbit. Close enough for jazz. And now we can jump to the Bronco, and it can go ahead and deploy the next satellite. And we'll do the same thing. I will put it in a roughly 1,000 kilometer orbit, set my alarm clocks, skip to the next event, and here we go. Let's burn retrograde so I can lower the orbit just a little bit. Here we go. Minmus Relay Sat 2. Jump to the next ship, and here we are. And I'll go ahead and deploy. And there you go. Solar panels. All right. And use the engines to boost it a little bit. Yeah, these satellites actually have a good amount of fuel, but that is so I really don't have to come back and fix them. However, if I ever did need to, they have that docking port on the back. And this is something that a lot of satellites are doing now. They're putting special harnesses so they can be docked to by repair satellites. And there's actually a company that is advertising, offering this service. So it will actually have satellites in orbit that can fly to your satellite and dock with it, and then possibly refuel it, repair it, or maybe even retrieve it and land it. Which is something that we should have done from the beginning. Now, it's going to, for this to work, all the satellites have to have the docking. Oh, can't forget the quick save right there. The docking harness on it already. But that's something we can build now, and it's better that we start now than wait for it later. And I kind of skipped over the rendezvous with Columbia Station, but it is going to dock here now. And my intent is, over the next couple days, I will probably do another base dropping mission. And hopefully, if we can reach 60 subscribers, I may even start doing the North Pole expedition. But next week, unless I do something else, either next week or the week after will be the season finale, where I send Jeb on a tour through the whole Reusable space program. Hopefully I can do that, because I kind of wanted to talk about the SLS launch. NASA is planning on launching SLS. Well, they're planning on another SLS launch attempt November 14th. But I do have everything docked now to Columbia Station. And I'll need to refuel the Bronco. It's going to be tight, and the problem is, without the mining ship, the fuel there is basically all the fuel we have. But hopefully that won't last long. Thanks to all the new subscribers. If you are not subscribed, please do so, because we are doing a 60 subscriber challenge, and right now we are only one away. Hopefully you can look down at the subscriber number and see that we are on or past that 60 subscribers. Otherwise, thanks guys, and see you next time.